Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Mohammed bin Bilal and you're watching Brief. In the global war on terror, Pakistan has contributed a lot but also suffered much. The country has experienced huge monetary, political, social and human losses under active engagements in regional conflicts. Even after the introduction of CPEC, Pakistan faces a variety of challenges that seek to undermine the benefits for all the stakeholders. There are internal as well as external threats and being divided along economic, political, security spectrums. We'll be talking about this with Dr.Talat, who's an expert on the matter. Dr. Talat, thank you for joining us. Now, one of the major aims of CPEC is development through peace. How do you see the Afghan conundrum playing into this and the security situation in their country? Do you see CPEC gaining traction because of the situation in that country?
When we talk of CPEC, CPEC is actually, the way it is called, a game changer in part of our region. So it is a game changer. But when we see Afghanistan, actually the security issues that we discuss with regards to CPEC, there are a number of militant organizations that are actually based in Afghanistan, in the Kunar province and elsewhere in Afghanistan, like IS, and Turkestan Islamic Movement. So Afghanistan has a lot to do with respect to peace in Pakistan and stability in Pakistan, and particularly with regard to CPEC, as these militant organizations, they threaten the CPEC.
All right. Now, China sees CPEC and One Belt, One Road as a cross-regional rather than a bilateral agreement. Now, but the antagonistic attitude of the public in both India and Pakistan curtails us from having India included into CPEC. Do you think there's a role that India could play if it's included in CPEC?
I think China has interest in having India on board with regard to CPEC, because India, along with other countries who are not for CPEC, they are raising an issue that CPEC actually runs through a disputed territory. So for China, it is imperative that they want to have India on board for CPEC. But I think this, and overall, the purpose of CPEC is not CPEC alone. It is actually, it forms part of Belt and Road Initiative, which is a bigger initiative of China. So CPEC is just part of BRI. So China would want India to be on board so that it is peacefully done.
So, but the thing is this, that how can you encourage both the populations of India and Pakistan to basically think on a scale that if India is included, it could actually bring peace in the region? How would you promote that in both the countries?
I think more than promoting, just a feeling or ownership of CPEC in Pakistan or India, that it is going to be a beneficial venture for both the countries, it is more important that we resolve other major issues between India and Pakistan. So when those issues are resolved,
for example, what kind of issues?
Like if you talk, it's Kashmir issue.
Kashmir issue.
Yeah, you have to resolve Kashmir issue to be on board. And secondly, since we say Afghanistan is actually
but your Kashmir issue has been a bone of contention for about 70 years. How do you plan on solving it in
but
a couple of months?
You can always have this point there, that you can always resolve other issues to move forward with CPEC. But still, I think if China wants it, and it is in the benefit of both the countries, and number of leaders, Pakistan leaders, have also displayed willingness to have India included in the CPEC in the larger interest of the region.
All right. Okay. Now, economic interdependence is a non-traditional form of security. Can it function properly in the region with countries like Afghanistan, Iran opposed to it, and India as well?
No, I think there is a kind of economic independence when we say we discuss concept of CPEC or BRI, because it is kind of connectivity that China wants with the region, irrespective of issues. For instance, if China wants good relations, or China wants India to be on board, so at the same time, China has disputes with India, but they are foregoing with those issues with India, and they still want to have some kind of trade and economic relation expanded with India.
But you've missed out the point where Afghanistan and Iran are also there. So how can we make sure that CPEC functions when Iran and Afghanistan and India are all against us?
That is what I say. It is, it needs to be dealt comprehensively.
So what role can we play with Iran and Afghanistan? Because they are Muslim brothers and we have that edge with them. With India, I understand, but with them, we have an edge. But still, we haven't been able to ever cover ground. Why is that?
I think more than being Muslim brothers, we have to see the regional diplomacy that worked for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Like we have an antagonistic Afghanistan on our west, so they are not very very cooperative, or they are not diplomatically well handled. So there are issues with Afghanistan, and India has a lot of involvement in Afghanistan. And the way I mentioned in my earlier, that there are a number of militant organizations are actually operating from the soil of Afghanistan. So that kind of things, I think these things are to be addressed wholesomely. We have to cater this issue as a wholesome issue if we have to benefit from CPEC or BRI.
All right. So how can we empower the people of Balochistan in such a way that the negative narratives that are being built over there are addressed and quenched? Because improving their way of life is another form of security. It'll improve their life and it'll improve the situation in Balochistan. So how can we do that?
There are 9 special security zones have been planned in Pakistan, and one is there in Balochistan. So the purpose of having a special economic zone in Afghanistan is to actually create job opportunities and kind of economic activity inside Balochistan. So if you if you analyze the purpose of CPEC for China, you would come across Chinese policy of giving their western region chunk of CPEC. So the purpose behind China having CPEC originating from western region is they want to develop that region and they want to have an economic activity. They want to actually give economic opportunities to people of western region. Similarly, we should also be, and we are in fact thinking in terms of giving Balochistan economic stability and economic opportunities for people of Balochistan to flourish and prosper.
Like, is there some kind of a reason behind the development of the Western corridor? Because according to reports, the western part of China is also facing the same kind of insurgency that Balochistan faces. So how is it that CPEC will alleviate the security situation of both Western China and Western Pakistan?
So when we talk of security, particularly security of CPEC, there are problems that there are certain militants who may not be opposing China's ventures, but since they have problems with state of Pakistan, so they are trying to create trouble in parts of Pakistan. So there has been a mechanism set to actually address this issue, and we have a force, special security force, special security division, which has a couple of battalions and paramilitary forces to cater for all these issues that are likely to arise. But I think China is also mindful, and China is also aware that there are security problems in their part of country. So both the countries have actually worked to address these issues by raising number of security forces and catering for the issues that can come up with the terrorist activities or actions by the militants.
Okay. Now, with traditional forms of terrorism becoming older and newer forms such as economic terrorism and cyber terrorism coming forth, is it a bigger security challenge for Pakistan, and how can we mitigate this situation?
I think terrorism has to be dealt with wholesomely, the way we said, cyber terrorism and economic terrorism. When you discuss of CPEC as an economic game changer, it is going to change people's lives, and simultaneously you are addressing the issues of terrorism by raising security forces. So I think you will be able to mitigate a lot of work has been done with regard to terrorism in Pakistan. And I think policymakers are well aware of these facts.
Now, coming to the security concerns caused by political instability, How do you see this at both ends of the spindle, and the ends of the spindle being Gilgit-Baltistan and Gwadar?
So, since as I mentioned earlier, that China is worried about Western region because that is also a troubled region. And similarly, where it tails like Gwadar, it is also a troubled region. We have BLA, we have BLF, so working in Balochistan. So both the countries have to be mindful of the fact that we need to cater for these issues timely if we want CPEC to be a success.
So if the social unrest in Gilgit-Baltistan at the moment gets upgraded to insurgency level, how is the state going to mitigate and preempt that, as you mentioned?
No. I think in Gilgit-Baltistan there is no insurgency that is expected.
There isn't insurgency yet, but outside forces have an influence, and they could upgrade that to an insurgency level.
Definitely, we'll have to tackle that situation.
So how will the state preempt that? That's what I'm asking.
Actually, when we talk of like another economic, Gilgit-Baltistan will also be beneficial of economic activity.
That's understood.
But, yeah, and people are on board. People from Gilgit-Baltistan are on board. And there's a lot of trade even before CPEC was done through Khunjrab and from that region. So, in my opinion, security forces are well, equipped to tackle any kind of insurgency in that part of the region. And the only thing we need to do is to, help China. Like they also have been accusing Afghanistan and Pakistan of activities inside their part of country. So we have to, have a comprehensive combined effort to mitigate this challenge.
All right. Now, Gwadar is where CPEC connects to the maritime routes. Do you think that the Pakistan Navy needs more reinforcements to protect the Indian Ocean and beyond?
I think whatever security or those needs, but with regards to Pakistan Navy is concerned, I think they are aware of their assigned tasks, and there's no problem. I think as of now, controlling any kind of situation there.
Does the Pakistan Navy need reinforcement to manage the CPEC maritime routes, given the vast expanse of the routes and the borders of our marine borders that we control?
In my assessment, Pakistan Navy is well entrenched in Gwadar and other coastal regions of Pakistan, and they have their plans prepared, and I think they're ready to assist the commercial activity, whatever is required in Gwadar.
But since we raised special security divisions on land routes, don't we need special security divisions in the maritime routes to help the Navy reinforce their capabilities?
I think at the moment, probably it is not, maybe it is in the plans to have that kind of maritime security on part of Navy, but since we are only concerned so far on the routes, land routes, and we have a security division in place.
But your land routes has trade that has to go to Gwadar, and from Gwadar it has to go to the rest of the world. So isn't it important both ways that you have both land security and maritime security?
It is important, and I think Pakistan Navy is ready for that.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Talat.
Thank you.